Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. Yesterday's vlog was, I have to admit, a bit depressing, but today I think I have some good news. This is going to be a positive vlog. It's going to be about a rare display of bipartisanship between us. Well, when I say us, I mean conservatives. I'm a conservative. Always keep that in mind when you evaluate whatever I say. But between conservatives and our liberal friends, at least in the Senate, this is a subject that has bothered me for a while. I think I've talked about it briefly in the past, but China is trying to replace us as the preeminent world power, and they are getting more and more aggressive about it, especially since a certain somebody became president. Because we don't have a tough guy in the White House anymore, or at least not for the next 4 years. So this is heartening. It's from the Senate. I'll just go right to the headline. Senate moves ahead with sweeping effort to counter China. The U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee has scheduled a meeting on April 14th to consider major bipartisan legislation to boost the country's ability to push back against China's expanding global influence, Senate sources said on Thursday. The draft measure, seen by Reuters is reporting this story, entitled the Strategic Competition Act of 2021, mandates a range of diplomatic and strategic initiatives to counteract Beijing, reflecting hardline sentiment on dealings with China from both Democrats and Republicans in Congress. That's what is the really good news. The bill is intended to address economic competition with China, but also humanitarian and democratic values, such as the treatment of the minority Muslim Uyghurs, suppression of dissent in Hong Kong, and aggression in the South China Sea. It stressed the need to, quote, prioritize the military investments necessary to achieve United States political objectives in the Indo-Pacific, unquote. It called for spending to do so, saying Congress must ensure the federal budget is, quote, properly aligned, unquote, with the strategic imperative to compete with China. I would say defeat China. That's the word I would use, but I guess they're being diplomatic, so compete with China. I am heartened about the call for spending to counter China, but I'm I'm heartened by, this is what I really meant to say, the giant infrastructure bill, the big pork bill, of which I think only not even a quarter of it is for actual infrastructure, but there is money in there to pay for research and development to leap ahead or stay ahead of China in developing the technologies of tomorrow, because that is an area, I should do this in a future vlog in more detail, but an area in which we are falling behind. If I remember correctly, an article I read, about 3% of American students go into the STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but in China, 36% of the students do that, and they don't have affirmative action and all these other woke policies. They just, they obviously don't discriminate against Asians in college admissions, but the point I'm getting to is that they promote on merit. They have very strict requirements or very strict standards for entering the best colleges. The parents will spend a year's salary getting special tutors for their kids, even though the kids are already very bright, special tutoring to make them even brighter or more competitive with all the other students who want to get into these prestigious Chinese universities. They also come here and study in the United States. That's another matter to cover in a future vlog. I think we're finally alert to that problem too, of Chinese, well, as one senator said, they're welcome to come here and study English and American history, subjects like that, but they are taking the engineering and the science courses and stealing our technology, learning in our universities and sending what they learn back to China. So I hope this will be covered in this bill that the Congress is considering. But in the Biden pork bill, there is money for basic research and development to leap ahead. Somebody said it's a Sputnik moment, and I remember, you can tell by looking at me, I wasn't born too recently. I was a kid in 1957 when the Sputnik was launched and orbited the United States, and it was like a shot across our bow. It just galvanized the whole country, and the government invested a lot of money into catching up with them and surpassing them. They were also the first to send a man around in orbit around the Earth. When they had already done that, we sent up the first, John Glenn, the first Atlas rocket, but he just went up and came down. He didn't even orbit the Earth. But Yuri Gagarin, the Russian cosmonaut, we call them astronauts, they call them cosmonauts, had already orbited the Earth, so we had some catching up to do. And then we caught up. JFK, John F. Kennedy, the president, set the goal. He said, we are going to send a man to the moon within the next 10 years and bring him back safely to Earth. And we had done it by 1969. That's what we need now, a national program to surpass China, or to stay ahead of China, but to invest the money to do the basic research and development. For instance, in 5G, they are way ahead of us on that, and just trying to keep other countries from buying their technology and doing business with them. That's not going to cut it. We have to leap ahead of them, and we have to have a competing product that we can sell, and then I'm sure at least the free world, they would rather buy from us than buy from China. 5G, quantum computing, there are so many fields. So I'm heartened that the money is there in the Biden pork bill, but I'm disheartened by the amount. They need to cut out the spending for all these other non-infrastructure projects, things that have nothing to do with, things like child care, things that have nothing to do with infrastructure, and spend that money. If you're not going to spend it on infrastructure, then spend it on basic research, funding basic research, and on education, engineering schools, the technical schools, and make the standards and keep the standards high. None of this politically correct stuff. Save that for the English courses and the history courses. It's bad enough there. Continuing with my quotes from the article, not too many left, just a little bit. It, meaning the legislation, calls for an enhanced partnership with Taiwan, calling the democratic self-governed island, quote, a vital part of the United States Indo-Pacific strategy, unquote, and saying there should be no restrictions on the ability of U.S. officials to interact with Taiwanese counterparts. It's important. It's not just prestige in politics. If you don't know geography, China is on one side of the Straits of Taiwan, and obviously Taiwan is on the other side. Much of the world's shipping goes through the Taiwan Strait. More important than that, our aircraft carriers, our military ships go through the Taiwan Strait. The last thing that we should want is communist China, who I consider ourselves to be in a Cold War with China. They're not competitors. I hate that word competitors. They're enemies. They are trying to replace us simply as a matter of military strategy, but also for the world shipping. We don't want China on both sides of that strait. That's why it is so important to defend Taiwan. Quote, the United States must ensure that all federal departments and agencies are organized to reflect the fact that strategic competition with the PRC, People's Republic of China, is the United States' top foreign policy priority, unquote. Hallelujah. That's what I've been saying. That is so important. I'm glad that it's being recognized by both parties. Unlike Iran, where only one party, the Republican Party, seems to realize how dangerous Iran is. We have the Biden administration, the Democrats, now practically on their knees begging Iran to rejoin the JCPOA. They are saying they won't rejoin unless we lift all of the sanctions. We have to do that first. Oh, I'm sorry, we have to lift all the sanctions before they will even discuss rejoining. And now I just read an article today that there have been under the table, behind the scenes talks between the United States and Iran to come up with some kind of step-by-step process where we would release some sanctions and then Iran would do something and then we would release some other sanctions and so on and so forth. The point being that the Biden administration is caving to Iran, and I don't understand why. What is this fixation with Iran that they like Iran so much? Remember this JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, in case you don't know what it stands for. But it just delays their inevitable achieving of an atomic bomb. So it doesn't stop it, just achieves it. And actually what it achieves is an attack on Iran by Israel. That's what this ultimately achieves. That's why you have the Israelis and Republicans and Iranian Americans just saying, don't do it to Joe Biden. So this I don't understand, but at least they're getting it right on China, or at least on paper they are. Another clause would limit assistance to countries hosting Chinese military installations, saying Beijing uses its so-called Belt and Road Initiative to advance its security interests and facilitate greater military access. If you don't know what the Belt and Road Initiative is and you want me to explain it, talk more about it, let me know in the comments, and if somebody wants me to, I will. I don't want to drag this particular vlog out by going. Just know that it's something that is harmful to the United States, that some other countries are working with China in order to get Chinese investment and infrastructure built in their countries. So we are going to limit assistance, because some of these countries are also getting money from us. We send them foreign aid, so why should they if they're helping China? That's the basic point. The effort is supported by Democratic President Joe Biden's administration. So again, hallelujah. We'll see how words translate into action. I personally do not trust this administration any farther than I can throw it. And finally, separately on Thursday, the U.S. Commerce Department said it was adding 7 Chinese supercomputing entities to an economic blacklist for assisting China's military. And finally, separately on Thursday, the U.S. Commerce Department said it was adding 7 Chinese supercomputing entities to an economic blacklist for assisting China's military. Because that's another problem. We do business with these Chinese companies, these high-tech companies in China that are supposed to be civilian companies like ours, but they are required by law, they are forced, they have to cooperate with the Chinese government, the Chinese military. Whatever the Chinese military wants from these supposedly civilian private companies, they have to comply. It's not like the problem we had, or the government, federal government had with Apple when we wanted to get access codes to search the cell phones that we'd captured from some terrorist suspects or terrorists, whatever, and Apple would not turn over the codes. They would not reveal the codes, and there was nothing that the United States government could do about it. But that is not the case in China. China wants some codes, they're going to get them. I'm happy to see that we're recognizing that problem too. I would be especially happy, though, to see a thumbs up from all of you if you like this video. Share with anybody you think would also like it. Got any comments? Comment section below the video, where you can also put questions, suggestions for future topics. You could subscribe. I love getting new subscribers. You could visit my food channel and my music channel, links in the description. You could also, well, I'm just happy that you're spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. I hope you all come back. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.